Deana,
I,
you could use
yeah,
more time during the day, can't you?
I think everybody can, but somehow we make it work within that time. Sometimes
What
you
do
get
you
up a little earlier, you go to bed a little later.
so tell me, so 7 kids, a full-time business, author,
Seven, five.
5 kids, look so many. 5, 7, what's the
I'm,
difference? Two.
I'm a baby of 7 kids.
Oh, that's why I'm thinking of it.
Yeah.
You know what? That is a beautiful picture that you have from when Siblings Day. Was that New York?
Oh yeah, that was my that we're 7, 2 boys, 5 girls that my parents had.
Oh, your parents are blessed. That is a beautiful photo.
I
I looked at
know.
each of you. I really, so beautiful. So
Thank you.
5 kids, the mortgage company, you motivate, you wrote the book, you have that beautiful Dream 7 designs. Are you still doing that?
Yeah. So on my store, we just updated my store. We did a line for COVID-19. We stick together, and we just said like hashtag 6 feet apart, and then my saying EFD, which is every friggin' day, meaning just do it every friggin' day. So we just came out with a line. 100% of the profits are going to go to, and we listed like 5 charities, so that depending on if you're in New York, New Orleans, or if you're anywhere in the country or in the world, you can choose one of those national companies. And then we have our local Housing for All that we support.
You give. So Deana and I met at the Chamber of Commerce and the Celebration Area Council back in the day. Are they still active, the CAC?
They are. Yeah, they are. I believe they are. Yeah.
Okay, so we had fun. We were involved in a lot of different things together, and that was awesome. And what you've done with La Rosa companies, but I want to like hear more about like everything that you're doing, because you've had the 2 babies a little later in life, not too late in life, but a little later in life, and you got married. And so tell us first about Dream 7 Designs, a little bit about the beginning, what you were thinking of when you were doing that.
Sure. So when the market crashed, right, and it dragged on for years, we were blessed, right, having our 3 girls and getting married. And it's funny that when we got married, everything was kind of great, but it was starting to like, what's going to go on here? So it all kind of crashed and fell apart. And we had my daughter Ella. So now again, blessed with four girls. And then we had my son Joey. Right. So when I was pregnant with Joey, we knew right away, they realized that he was going to have issues, because whatever the shot they give you, like after your last pregnancy and at 27 weeks to protect with the blood mixing between a mom, like the RH factor, didn't work. So what happened, it's my husband's phone going. So what happened, they ended up just saying something's, wrong. We see that his kind of, do you hear that phone? Sorry.
Oh no, don't even worry about it. We're candid. It's okay. Life happens.
So they said like right away he was basically, my body was like recognizing him as like a foreign antibody. So they were like kind of trying to, for lack of a better word, kill him. So right away it was like a struggle with him. And I think like 14 weeks on, they were watching him, and thank God to the great doctors. But they had to deliver him earlier, and I had to get blood transfusions while I was pregnant with him. So all this, through all this stuff going on, was still like, my son's a miracle, even though he was in the NICU for a month. And when he came home, he had to deal with torticollis and all this other 5 transfusions, I think he had 4 after he came out. So all this going on, I saw people just being so upset because they were losing, just like we did, houses, cars, you name it. And I just felt like I wanted to take a stand for like, what's really important, which is family. And so I had done like a 2-page article at the time in like Celebration Life, which, we didn't have much money, but you pay for it when you want to advertise in that. So I paid to just talk about like the grace of God, and how, will never take you where the wrath of God will protect you, or the wrath of God will never take you where the grace of God will never protect you. And just about what's truly important. Like money you can get again, you can get, work on all that, but your family and your health is number one. So from there, I just thought, I want to do something a little different. So I decided to come up with the designs. And Peter Raimondo, who's still a dear friend of mine, who's just an amazing animator. He was an animator for Disney, just an amazing writer and artist. He ended up working with me. I called him over to our house one day, and I'm like, I want to do this. And so we came up with some designs having to do with hope and just faith and love and peace and everything. And it started from there. And then it kind of sat on the back burner for a while. And then I've kind of picked it back up re-inspired and just, you know, kind of like driving it the way I wanted to, just because I'm passionate about what you wear, what's around you, the people you hang around is all a direct reflection of what's really going on in your mind and in your heart. So that's how it started.
That is so beautiful. That is kind of why I'm doing this, is I want to have people meet like the friends that I know, because because you have such a great story, and you are so like-minded, and you're a hardworking woman, but you're always a mom first, which is really beautiful. But you are brilliant. Now, where did you go to school? Where?
Thank you. I lived in Franklin Square. So when I moved from Queens, so all of my schooling was in Franklin Square. And then I went to Adelphi University. So when I went, I worked all day, right? So, you know, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we had to work, right? You weren't getting anything. So I had a full-time job when I graduated. I had a job when I was in school. Right after school, I would go work, sometimes 2 different jobs. And then, so when I graduated, I went straight to work, and I would go to school at night. So I went to Adelphi University at night. So I would work like 9 to 5, 6 to 10-ish. I would go to Adelphi. And I took like psychology, accounting, business and finance and management type stuff. But then I ended up getting married, so I never finished high school. So I only had like 36 credits. And then I ended up getting a job in finance, and they put me through like Sybase and New York Institute of Finance on equities and bond market trading. So everything else I did from that point was all in what I did for a living, which was finance and equities and bond market trading.
Sorry, just kidding. I just want to be able to walk in the door. I know nothing. Before I
don't
forget
know
it,
how I did. Honestly, I look back, like I spent like 7 years in Manhattan being a software engineer, doing quality assurance with developers, and I'm like on the equities in the stock market. I'm like, who would have thought I would do that? But I always loved math, and I always loved accounting, and I was a numbers person. So, you
that
know.
makes sense. I have to ask, how are your parents right now? Where do they're in New York.
No, no. So my parents moved to Florida,
Oh,
so
good.
they live here. Yeah, my dad was starting to. We noticed the last few years that my dad was having some memory issues, and so okay, trying to get through this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we noticed that he was having memory issues. So a bunch of us were talking, and we're like, something's definitely going on. So my sister in New York, who was closest to him, was taking him to a neurologist, and we noticed that we ended up finding out he had vascular dementia. So my mom, not as bad, but it got to the point where it was just like my sister was like, my sister lived in New York, my other sister in Connecticut were the closest. It was just like doctors, and all this other stuff. And then we started to realize that he was just not, the medicine wasn't being taken right. So long story short, I was getting back from Alaska with my kids and Joe, and I was getting calls from my dad at weird hours of the night. So, and you could tell something was wrong. So when we landed, I sent them home. I went to New York, and they basically came down with packed bags and said, take us with you. And my sister happened to be away at the time. She was in Italy, so she wasn't nearby. So I figured, okay, great. I'll take them home for a week with me while my sister's away, and then we'll figure it out. And while they were with me, I realized that there was no figuring it out. Like they needed 24/7 care. My mom's memory was already slipping, but my dad was in serious, like late stages of dementia. So with the help of all my siblings, who are a blessing, 2 or 3 of them flew in. Actually, my one sister's not too far from here, and she lives in Florida. She came in. My 2 sisters from New York, Connecticut, my brother from Arizona. We all just, got them in Windsor at Celebration, here in Celebration, a beautiful assisted living, who also has memory care, knowing that my dad was going to go that route, but promising them that we would not do that until we absolutely had to, because we didn't want to do that, because it was my dad's worst nightmare, dementia. He used to say that he would never live that way. And of course, my mom has high blood pressure, and she was getting anxiety over caring for him, and it was just both struggling to remember. And it was like very contentious. And they just passed 65 years of being married.
Oh,
65 years, 7 kids, through all the highs and lows, working together as a team. My dad working 2 jobs, my mom taking care of us. And the first time in the last month or 6 weeks that they've been separated, my mom stayed in assisted living, and my dad's in memory care. Right before this happened, my sister Lynn and I She flew in because I cried to her on the phone saying I can't do this alone. And so she came in and we moved him in, and we stayed with him till he basically fell asleep that night. And then this kind of happened, and we have not been able to physically see him since.
I was thinking, because I remember you coming back from Alaska. I love the trip and the pictures and everything. I was living through your pictures. So this is very recent. I'm sorry. I know
Yeah,
how
it's a, it is. It's in fact, I went there a couple of times, and I went to the people there are so amazing. We're able to. My mom's not really good with technology, so we've kind of given her phones and stuff, and we can't really FaceTime a lot. But we call her. My sister and I have even gone outside the building. She's on the third floor, waved to her while we're talking to her. And my mom's a trooper. I mean, she, is not, she's always taking care of us. And she actually at 55, I think it was, she went back, got her GED, got her associates, her bachelor's, like all in her 50s. And, my dad's always just worked. So it's we have so much respect for them. And so it's heartbreaking because they lived everything for their kids. Nothing was ever important, like houses, money, cars, jewelry, nothing. It was always about the family. And so they gave us that work ethic, integrity, and that family values. But, my dad, I went to the window and I kind of like held my hand up to him. And I have my daughter, my husband took a video, and then my daughter actually put this like song that I danced with my dad to on it. And I'm telling you, it is like a tearjerker because it's sad and heartbreaking, but we know they're being cared for, and it's unfortunate what's going on. But I think that maybe God knew the timing was right because we were forced to allow my mom to get independent and be alone and have that peace and quiet and know what it's going to be like, when my dad does pass on, right? And then for my dad to get adjusted into memory care so that when this is over and I can pick him up, it's not going to be like, I'm not going back. So it's been heartbreaking because, you look at your heroes and who you love and you see that every day I'm like, Joe, I'm just going to pick him up and take him home. And he's like, you can't do that because he wakes up in the night, he doesn't know where he is. And then it's dangerous for my kids, and so it's heartbreaking. But that's probably the hardest thing that me and my 6 other siblings are going through right now.
I am so sorry. And the COVID-19, that's really that is so difficult. It's interesting that you married Joe, who I had the opportunity to meet. Actually, I think my dad also met Joe's father, and I remember that. And so he had the same kind of appearance because my dad would be like, how is that couple? She's really pretty, blonde, thin. And then the man, I think he was a realtor. My dad would remember and how are they at the time? I think looking for a space, right, for the gallery and celebration. But Joe has the same beautiful relationship with his parents too. And they kind of growing up, right? That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard right now too because of his parents. His dad recovering from the pancreatic cancer, his mom having that multiple myeloma. They can't take a chance with this. So we've kind of like pulled in front of their house and waved. In fact, on Easter we dropped off a little something for them, and they've actually dropped stuff off and with the masks. But we can't even. We don't want to take a chance with them either, right? No. So it's rough. But his dad is like amazing. His positivity and everything. It's just and his mom, of course, is just a tough cookie. She is, she's amazing. She's able to handle even being on chemo like 3 out of 4 weeks a month and taking care of everything and still just always, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? So they're even calling us. Do you need toilet paper? Do you need anything from the store? We're like, no, we're okay. But, yeah.
That is so beautiful. Oh, I wonder how my parents would have done with everything going on. I just question that because my dad lost my mom. That he just couldn't. He couldn't understand it. He was just all confused. He was in the hospital for a heart attack. Actually, my dad had just received a very high honor from the Boys and Girls Club. And so he received that on a Friday night. It was over they lived at the Diplomat Residences. So it was at the Diplomat next door, the hotel. And then the next day he went to get a haircut and he's like, I'm not feeling very well. And he ended up in the hospital with a heart attack. And my mom, it was October 22nd. My mom, I don't think that, and not that it's anybody's fault, but I don't think anyone made it clear to my mom that my dad was in the hospital. And so she probably saw the empty bed, even though my mom was half in and out of it because she fell. But she had the heart attack. So my dad is in the hospital with a heart attack. And all of a sudden, my sister had to go and tell my dad that his beloved wife, who 2 months before 70 years, passed away and was downstairs in the room. The hospital allowed my mom to stay there so my dad could go down. From that moment on, he just couldn't really understand. It was very hard for him. It took him months to try to really get like how that could have happened. He would call the rabbi, and the rabbi was so nice. I love the rabbi. And he would come in and just sit with my dad to try to explain, how it happens and how doing great things. The rabbi, Alana, the rabbi said, when you do really great things in life, you do a mitzvah, and it helps my mom. So, but I know it's just
it's heartbreaking. Yeah,
it's so heartbreaking. My dad, I don't know if I told you this. My father went into the hospital. He had fluid on his chest. So last April 3rd, he went into the hospital to get the fluid out, and somehow, some way, it wasn't. The hospital didn't realize that he was on blood thinners, and my dad bled to death. And my dad was so afraid of the hospital. There was a point where I was leaving Celebration and living in Hollywood, and I was kind of going back and forth, and I was taking the leadership Hollywood class. And so my dad, he just didn't like the hospital. So I spent many times where I've seen him check himself out, against the wishes. So for him, he was he didn't want to be in the hospital, but for him to go and then actually be there, because he's a world patient, and then to end up passing away with the one thing that he was always scared of. I think that's I'm like, how did that happen? What are you doing, Alana?
That's what I worry about. Yeah, that's what, and I think about that with my dad. It's like this. He used to say, "This is not the way I'm going to go. I'd rather lose all my body than my mind," because he was such a strong man and in mind, right? And he had to make sure he could manage financially for the whole family and take care of everything. And he was always in such control of everything. For him to lose control of that, I think, is what he was fighting the dementia, right? So it would make him frustrated and upset. So it's hard when you think of what amazing, fathers they are and parents, and then to go the way they, like that. But somebody at this man David at Windsor, who's been amazing support, because it's been hard, right, to have them in even assisted living, but even in memory care. And for my dad, he said to me, I said, it's just me and my sister upset. And we were crying there saying this is not, he doesn't deserve this. My parents worked their whole lives, took care of their kids. They were so selfless, right? And to go this way, they didn't, and it was, they didn't get to travel. They didn't get to do this. And then I remembered that didn't even matter to my parents. Having 7 children that are doing great, have good hearts, and then having all the grandkids that they have that are such amazing kids, and then the grandkids have kids. Wow. Really, and he said, that's not dementia or Alzheimer's is not your parents' legacy. You are all 7 of your siblings. And I sat there and I thought, and my sister and I looked at each other, I'm like, that's right. So I kind of, it was hard for me to continue doing what I do when you have to be, positive, and you want to be passionate and still uplifting when you're suffering and crying at night in your bed because your dad's being tortured by his own mind. But I kept reminding myself, what would my dad say to me? And my dad would say, keep going, don't worry about me. And he would say, just, do what you do, and keep, with the work ethic, the integrity, and keep helping others. And my mom was always like that, very kind-hearted, and she would give anything to everyone. I think St. Jude, she's probably given more money than she's made to. Oh, I swear. So but so we're their legacy. So my dad would want us to continue to just do things in his name. So that's why I kept Keller on my book, because I'm so proud of my maiden name.
That is so beautiful. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have added it under here. Tell me about, so you're working, Union Home Mortgage Corp. What exactly?
So I'm an area sales manager for Union Home Mortgage. So you remember back in the day, I had my own mortgage company. And then when the market was crashing and I was pregnant with Ella, and then I found out about Joey, I couldn't just sustain that business, not alone managing a team, because it was a time where a leader had to be 100%, dedicated. And obviously I had my family already. We had 3 kids. Ella was a newborn, right? And then I found out I was pregnant with Joey and was having issues. So when I was out of it, and then when I started to get back in, or just to help Joe, because he built La Rosa Realty and he needed an affiliate for a lending side, and he was having trouble getting someone that he can really rely on. And so I got out and he pulled me back in. But I didn't want to open my own company again. I didn't want to be a broker. I wanted to be able to support the growth that that Joe has, because you have to be able to have a strong company. And I didn't want all that. There's so much regulation after 9/11, and the liability is intense. And so I started looking into other companies, and I did take, I moved around like, I guess 2 or 3 times and tried different companies over that, whatever, 10-year span. But Union Home Mortgage, I met the managers, or like I should say the regionals, with Bill Cosgrove and Al Blank, who are the Al and Bill. Bill's the CEO, president of Union Home Mortgage, and they're just amazing people. And I love their values in the company, the way they treat everyone like partners. They're not looking to do every loan. They want to focus on they want to get people in homes, but they don't want to put them in a home knowing that if they take off a day, they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage. So it's just responsible lending. So that's why we aligned ourselves with them, and they've been the preferred lender for the last 2 years for La Rosa Real Estate. So It's a great company, and I run my sales team, and they're my family, so they've been with me forever, and so yeah, I'm enjoying that.
I have to tell you, I remember, the crazy thing is, going back to Joey, I remember the lockdown in the hospital, right?
Yes. I was just talking to Joe about the other day. We were driving and we stopped into Einstein Bagels, whatever it's called, and they walked off the streets because somebody was either a bomb threat or a parent was actually threatening the hospital, the doctor, and Joey was in the NICU at the time. And I remember, I think about some of the things I've been through. You start back from 9/11 to the market crash to, forget Megan's birth. I had blood transfusions, and they didn't think I was going to survive her birth. So, I've had so many different things, and I think about it. I'm like, oh God, Lord, I should be made of steel by now. Give me a break.
I think you are.
But that day, I remember thinking, oh my God, please, you did not put this boy through all this, put us through this to have something happen to my little boy now. And yeah, it was a scary time. And we sat there and waited until we were able to get to see him in the hospital. But yeah, you remember that? That was...
It feels like yesterday too. Weirdly enough, I do remember it, because I remember putting myself in your shoes and thinking that had to be just the hardest thing for a mom to be dealing with that. And so, my gosh. Okay, so now to go back to Big Joe now. So I remember with the Rosa coming into the office a few times and talking, and the plan and the plan of attack of the growth. And then now, before you even had the website, I remember Joe telling me that what his plans were, like his goals. Yes. So it has been about 10 years ago, and he superseded it, right? He's got to be totally.
Yeah, he's that's his. Whenever he got taken out of that, working in it instead of on it, that's when he would say, "I have this vision," right? And he's always stuck to that, and he's always laid it out. He's a planner for sure, and a strategizer, and the visionary behind it. So he is, organically somewhat just created an amazing team around him, and they're all just doing amazing things. So yeah, now he's franchised, right? So now he's in, I want to say 5 states, but it might be 7, because that's his thing. But then, and now he's in, I think, 7 other countries.
Yeah, so, it's incredible to watch.
Yeah, so it's amazing. And it's just, but the greatest thing of all that growth really is, and that's one of the things why we started doing a lot of the training, and we're creating this kind of Thrive Tribe and Thrive Society, is because what he never wants to be is so big that he can't still be one-on-one with the people within the company, right? So we've created, and so that's the important thing about that, is to make sure all his franchisee owners and his managers all are treating that team and those realtors like family. So he wants it to be about the agents, which is what he built his whole company on. So it's amazing, because we still, through all these different things we're doing, especially now when it's supposed to be social distancing, we're really just physical distancing. But socially, we've been every day, all day, talking to agents and managers, and then people outside. And I think he had 80 agents join him this month.
Wow. I somehow got invited to the Thrive private group, so I accepted. I hope it was okay. I don't know if it was
yeah. No, we do a lot of training in there, and We do our Plan of a Panic series, and I share my One Family webinar series, and we have a bunch of other things coming up that we'll be announcing in the next few days. So it's just giving content, giving value, bringing knowledgeable and experienced people on in different areas, and just sharing that to just help people grow and, get out of their comfort zone so that they can grow, right? Because if you stay content, then you're not really growing. So
Right.
we're just trying to teach people how to form new habits and plan too, because with everything going on, Joe and I learned, right, from the market crash on how to be more prepared financially, right? And my dad used to always say, don't live on your best month, live on your worst month, right?
Oh my
So
God.
Joe and I, right? So Joe and I kind of changed our lifestyle here where if, we always were prepared that, well, if anything was to happen, our lifestyle can warrant if we both have to go get a 9-to-5 job. That's kind of what we learned from the scariness of the crash, because we were having our 4th child, and then I was pregnant with Joey being our 5th child. So we kind of prepared our lifestyle around that. So now what we do is our big like spending is on our family vacations.
I
That's
love
what we
that too.
spend, because nobody can take that away from us. That's in our memories. And I do the books for the vacation so our kids can look back on it. But like now with everything going on, when you have to cut back, it's like, okay, so we'll get a credit on our vacations because we're obviously not going to go traveling now. We were supposed to be in 12 countries this year. But everything else will stay the same, and we can sustain the companies and protect the people that work for us. That's our family. But so it's just, we want to teach other people, be prepared for that rainy day. Don't live above your means, because we've done it. Don't be hopeful, because we should be hopeful, but we also have to plan for that rainy day. Like in Florida, if you're in real estate mortgages, it's hurricanes. I mean, if there's a hurricane happens, you could be dead in the water for 15 days. You could be dead in the water for 60 days. So you have to be able to, budget, because we're on commission. So, so for him and I, we've learned it the hard way, and we just want to, other people to realize it too. So
I love that. What are you making, Alana? Oh my gosh. Okay, Alana's making some. She's not a good cook, but I don't want her to hear me. Okay.
It's okay. Either am I.
What is this? What is this supposed to be, honey?
Is that cake batter?
Did you follow the
Or
rest?
brownies?
Is it brownies? Okay, you followed it perfectly, and you
It
put
looks good to me.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's delicious. Go put it in the pan. No, not really. It tastes weird. What'd you do? You put applesauce in it? Oh, that's good. Then it's not.
Put 2.
2 applesauce is fine. Go ahead, put it in the pan. Good. So
Applesauce?
it's delicious, Alana. So, so I have to say, she's like pancakes. I tell her all the time. I'm like, it's okay, Alana. Pancakes are like kids. The first couple ones you got to throw away. They get better at the end. Kidding, because I have 4 great kids. I have to say that I do. Your husband looks so happy, and I love seeing that because because I was there kind of towards a time when you first met him, and so when I look and I see how you could just see it, And well, first I remember when he started to lose a little weight, and so he
lost 60 some odd pounds.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
Families are not easy. So in the beginning, it was a rough time. It was rough for all of us. So thankfully now, we really have blended well, and it'll never be perfect. You can still get into it here and there, but we have a very well functioning family. So I get along with my stepdaughter's mom very well. She's one of my friends, and then Joe and Chris are friends. So, but in the beginning, it was hard. That's why I wrote my book, and even while I was writing my book, it was still, we were having some struggles. But now I have my One Family webinar series and I want to pull them in so that we can share what we did. And even though it's kind of my journey, and it's like what I did right, what I did wrong, it's not pulling on anybody else's journey, right, but mine and Joe's. It's still like, if somebody had come to me during that and said, no, don't say that because that might hurt someone's feelings, or that might hurt your kids' feelings, or don't do that because in the end, that's not really going to help you, I would have listened, but I didn't have any guide. There's no parenting guide, never mind a guide when you're blending families and dealing with exes and being a step parent. It's hard. So we've kind of navigated it, and we probably got some broken ribs and some bruises still from it. But what I'm trying to help people is keep the end in mind, and what do you want? You just want a good, healthy, loving family. And if you want to have a healthy, loving family, you have to love on your stepkids, your kids equally, and you have to also love on your stepkids' parents and vice versa, your exes, because we all made up these kids. So it's like that let go and that peace and that really just lean in with your heart type thing that we've tried to learn with. And Joe and I have been able to, teach each other that. He's taught me how to like not engage, and I've taught him how to embrace and forgive and let go. So, yeah.
I love that. So I actually went through something similar with my ex-husband. So Steve, so Alex and Sammy, but I knew some way I knew in my mind that I had to embrace Ivy, and that I could have said to myself all the things that I could have tried to say, I didn't like about her, but I knew that I didn't even know her at that point anyway. So, but I was like, but she's a stay-at-home mom, and I knew that she would be great with the kids. And so I went with all the positive. And we used to say we should go on Oprah Winfrey to show that you can be friends, because
that's right.
There was no, like, and I say this to Alana too, no matter what, you find what you like about that person. You stick with the positive. None of us are perfect, but there were so many positive things with Ivy that I loved, that, at times my children were like, you like Ivy more than us. And I'm like, no, sir. But I kept close with her. I wanted to make sure. And now we're just, I still take pride in her children that she had with my ex-husband. And I do think we changed during the decades too. So I got married in my 20s. I'm definitely not the same person in my 50s.
Right. Yeah.
So it doesn't even.
That's right. People change people. So I feel like, and especially when you have kids, they're half mom, half dad. So, we love our kids, even though maybe they came from our ex. So there's obviously half and half. So, and you got with that person for reasons. So you have to take that good in them, and you have to understand and be grateful for that. But yeah, people change people, right? So as you grow and you're around the right people, you tend to just grow as a person. And I know I like myself better now than, we joke around, my kids, they're like, you're pushing 50. And I'm like, I like myself better now, almost 50, than I did when I was, whatever, a teenager, or even in my 30s and 40s. I've grown. So I was never a bad person. And I always had like God at the center, but I definitely make a lot less mistakes. I definitely learn from all my mistakes, but I think I also am just kinder. I let go more. I'm more forgiving. I'm more non-judgmental. I think I've gone through so many things that I'm like, why judge anyone? You never know. If you haven't walked in their shoes, how can you really judge someone? So even though like emotion is horrible, right? When you get emotional about something, you end up saying and doing the wrong thing, because when it has to do with the heart, you get upset and angry. So it's a fine balance of really, it's a daily struggle, I think, and it always will be, right?
Can someone join your Facebook group if they're going through being blended right now? Are you open for? So will you send that to me so that I can have that, or just post it on one of our things? I think that it sounds like a beautiful group. I used to say, nobody knows what's really happening in the bedroom. So I don't judge, because I don't know, nor do I care. But I think you're right. As you get older, well, sometimes I think I'm a lot like my mom. Her filter started like going away, so she would say more things and without that filter. But I think right now in my lifetime that I want to do the right thing, and I want to see people do the right thing. So I will stand up for what's right. And I didn't have that kind of brave attitude when I was in my 30s.
Right.
And
yeah.
just being able to say,
I would never see myself. Would you ever see yourself doing this like 10 years ago? I would never see myself voluntarily, is that right? Like being on like in front of a video camera, doing a Facebook Live, speaking up on stage. That would never. I'd be like, I sat in the back of the classroom. When they would say, "Who has a question?" I'd be like this. I just never wanted that. So because I didn't want to be criticized, I didn't want to be wrong. You worry about that. But now I just don't worry about any of it. It's just.
Well, so I wrote the book, Head Down, Shut Up, because unfortunately I was told all the time during work that nobody liked me, nobody respected me, nobody wanted to work with me. People get combat pay to work with me. And so that started when I came back from muscular dystrophy. So pretty much in my 30s from my older brother. And it was so calculating, it really was, so that because you don't turn around and say, oh, everyone loves me. Everyone likes me. Like I said it once. I think I think I tried to fight it, and then it just sounded so lame too. And then I didn't want to go back. Like, Jackie, do you not like me? Are you like? But what it did, because I remember the feeling. I mean, I could cry. The feelings were really brutal. I was made fun of my weight, and nobody liked me. Always defending me. Oh, you're wrong, Adrienne. You're negative. I mean, it was on and on. But I did, when I was in the group with Celebration Area Council and I'm in that boardroom, nobody's saying that to me. So I'm thinking maybe he's not really right. Maybe people do like me. And so it did push me to get out and get involved. And I probably would have anyways, but that's the kind of emotional abuse. So I just wrote the book back in December because my father had passed away. Now my brother's the executor, and now I'm still hearing it. And it's getting to a point where my dad's secretary is saying it to me now. And I'm actually getting almost like mobbed with, nobody wants to work with you. And it's like, I mean, I have to look at myself and say, is that really true? And then I'm saying, I know it's not. And so are they going to define me, or am I going to define myself? So I knew at that point, this is what I want to do, is come out and speak about, and not that I did this Candid conversations, but in talking to you, when I was, that was really what was going on a lot at the different meetings and stuff like that, is it was a consistently being, feeling good. And then you get on the phone to have a conversation, and it was like, boom, I might as well have been being beaten up. It's kind of felt the same way.
Yeah, and it's usually because of an angle. Somebody's got an angle, right, to push you down. And normally when someone's trying to keep you down or push you down, it's normally their own insecurities and their lack of belief in themselves and their lack of confidence in themselves. So since they can't bring themselves up, they'd rather push other people down. And that's,
yeah. But I would have liked to coach at that time. And so I really believe like what you and Joe are doing and the motivation, because even if someone's not telling you what they're going through, you're really helping them. And if I had a coach, or if we had the ability to get on and listen to someone else, give us some good advice, I miss that, because I mean, my internet's not that old. So, or it is, no, it's not that old. But anyway, so I feel like the last 27 years, like if I could do it again, I would totally recommend making sure that you stick with people that are motivating, stick with someone that can, you get a coach at all ages. I think my daughter, I really think that Alana could use a coach at your age, Alana. We need to have someone. Are you a coach? Because you would make a great coach.
So I do coach. Hold on, I'm gonna have Joe come say hi, Joe, before he heads out. But I'll make a point to that too. So I do coach. I mean, when you're a leader, I think you are a coach because you have to coach your team and whatnot. But Joe and I are doing coaching separate from that. But well, he's not really dressed, but say hi anyway.
I was working out.
He was working out, but that's the beauty.
I see you. Joe, hi, I see all your Facebook posts, so I know.
How are you?
I'm so proud of you and Deana and the work that you've done, and just, you know what, you're so wonderful to the community of Celebration and everything that you do. So I want to say thank you, because I know that you really have made a big difference, the two of you, and just your own community. And that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And little Joe missed us football. He's going to get back on football.
Oh
yeah. He actually was supposed to be playing soccer and flag football now, so he got pushed off a little bit. I think one of them will be definitely canceled, so we'll have to see about soccer. But
well, I think
if not, we'll have this summer.
Yeah.
You're sponsoring things. You're amazing. Have a good rest of the night.
All right, you too.
So, to the point where you were saying about how Alana could use a coach, and I say the same thing to my kids, right? So to the point where I think like my daughter Megan, who's at FSU in college.
Wow.
Yeah, now she's kind of home. So I've been saying to her, Megan, let's do this. Well, Megan, let's do this. I've even said to like Emily and Allie, and obviously because Joey and Elle are younger. And finally, like my daughter's like, maybe we don't want to do what you do, or like, and my other daughter was like, Mom, like I'm 19, like I have to get through college. And then I realized that like I was pushing it too much, right? Because I know the journey it took for me to get there, and I just don't want their journey to be so that long. Like I think about like if I would be where I am today in like my mind and not necessarily my heart, but to some degree, because I never really had confidence. I never really I kind of was like you, like keep your head down, that type of attitude. And I think actually getting divorced and going through some of the stuff I went through kind of made me kind of tougher. And I think because my dad made us that way, I think And knowing like how my mom stayed home, took care of the kids and everything, and really didn't have control of anything. I was just like, I'm never going to not be in control of my own money. I'm never going to rely on anyone. And so it made me kind of jagged a little bit, but you can still be strong in that leader without having like the little pieces of the knife sticking out, right? So I've kind of like molded myself where I'm still strong and independent, but I'm just not as sharp, if that makes sense. But so I had to back off for my kids to say they have plenty of time. Like, I don't have to push it on them now. I do say, like, I'm sure you do the same thing. I plant seeds all the time, and they're always watching. So your daughter, your kids, they're watching you just like my kids are watching me. And without saying anything really, they're going to be picking up these nuggets of information, and it's really going to mold them. And then when the time's right, if they want to step into like any of our businesses or something that we're doing, then we would love for them to do that. But now I'm kind of just coaching them indirectly where they don't think it's coaching.
I think that's beautiful. Actually, you did your divorce that you went through was, I remember thinking that it was hard because it was kind of visible when you're in a small town of celebration, less than like 8,000 people. And I remember there was a store, I want to say a food store, but I'm not really even sure.
Deli, yeah. We opened up a deli right when we were getting divorced. I opened up the deli so that he had his business because I had mine, and he had left the police force already. So it was very visible. It was just like walking around with a billboard saying, "Yes, that's right. We're having family problems and going through probably one of the most horrific divorces." So join in on that.
Your head was held up high. You never. I just remember being so totally impressed with you.
I say that to people all the time: say nothing and let everything unfold. You don't have to be the center of it, but most of the time you do that, but sometimes, again, when it comes to the heart and emotion, and I always had a problem with not being able to get my point across or not being able to have people see the truth in things. And then Joe taught me, because I used to say to him, like, are you going to argue to get the truth out? And he would be like, for what? To lose my peace? It doesn't matter. So he kind of taught me that it's like, the truth, or like, where you stand, or what you want. So it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. So he kind of taught me to be that focus on you. You don't always have to prove a point. You don't always have to be right. So is being right or proving a point more important than our family life and our peace? No. So so he helped me with that.
I served under you, though, by the way. I think you were president when I was the CAC. When I was in the CAC, I served under you, which was great. And then with the Relay for Life.
Yeah, me and Tracy. 2 years, yeah.
She was an amazing woman, too.
I love her, yeah.
I know, that's so, but thank you so much for your time. Is there, so you're going to send me where someone could go on the Blended Families, and then the book is easy to find because actually I just put in your name, it pops up, Blended Family, a roadmap for success, which I love.
Yeah, actually I have it. I think I have it here. But you can get it on Amazon or on my site, but it's Blended Families, a roadmap for success, and it's under Deana, Keller, Rosa. Yeah.
So Deana, if I was in your house right now, where would I see that picture on the wall? Because you must have it, right? Tell me you.
Oh, my dining room.
Oh, your dining room. Oh my God.
My husband bought me that when we bought the house. So we were having our office redone, right? Because there's a lot of us in this house, right? And it's not this huge house, so it's not like we have because there's 5 kids, right? And then so they don't all have a bedroom. Megan went to college, so we let the 2 little ones they're not so little anymore, but have their own bedroom. So we were working on the office, and then this happened. So the office is not ready. So the dining room table, right, which is where this is on one end of the dining room table, that's Joe's office. And I have my setup in the kitchen table. So, So it's funny because you'll hear, like, Allie's room is off to this end. So sometimes she'll wake up in the middle of us being on, like, a webinar or an office meeting with our team, and her door is like a squeaky. I'm like, we need to oil that door because you always hear Aunt like, oh, there goes Allie, she's coming out. And then of course out the front door.
She's beautiful too. All your children are so beautiful. I love that picture. I just look at it and it's such a gorgeous picture. I knew. Is it a good size? Did you get a good size? Is it a good size? The canvas of your picture.
Oh yeah, well I'm a decent size, yeah. Oh. We've taken one even since then, but one of the things actually Al Blanket told me at Union Home Mortgage, he was given this whole big spiel, but just to end on this, he was saying about how the difference between parenting and grandparents is parents are always trying to make sure their kids are okay, and they're always worried, like, are they doing the right thing? Are they going to be good? Are they going to be good kids? And they worry about how they dress, their hair, if they have earrings or tattoos. And then grandparents just worry about the core. He's like, it's like an apple. An apple on the outside could look really beautiful and bright and shiny red, or green, whatever apple you eat, but it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside if when you open it up, it's rotten on the inside. Wow. So when he said that to me, it like hit me like, oh my God, because it's the truth. Like I've always kind of like every now and then I'll go off like on why are you wearing that? But I always really focus on the core of my kids. So they are beautiful, but like all of my kids' heart is like always in the right spot. And regardless of making mistakes and whatever, because we're all not perfect, but they're really good-hearted kids, and they're God-centered. So all the mistakes they're going to make and the off the path and everything else is okay. I just trying to keep them from going off the cliff, so to speak, right?
You're awesome. I love you. I'll let you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Love you.
I love
Bye.
talking. Wow, you're beautiful.
You too.
Thank you.